Hello, my name is Amalia Allen. Thank you for your interest in my study. Here in the United States, we have an education law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. It mandates that students with disabilities receive a free and appropriate education, FAPE, in a least restrictive environment, LRE. Students protected by this law must fall under 13 disability categories and receive an individualized education program, IEP. This IEP is put together by a team of professionals and school community members to help the student reach academic and functional goals. By law, all teachers, including music teachers, are to help students reach these goals. In 2018, Adamek and Darrow presented 3 barriers to successful inclusion and strategies to overcome them. These barriers aligned with 3 main categories: organizational, knowledge, and attitudinal. Organizational barriers are those pertaining to school and lesson structure, classroom management, objective setting, and instruction delivery. Knowledge barriers relate to the understanding that teachers possess to provide appropriate and effective services to students, and this includes disability, legislative, and interprofessional knowledge. Attitudinal barriers are those relating to teachers' opinions of students with disabilities, views of these students' musical and non-musical abilities, and beliefs of including students with disabilities in music classes. Researchers have conducted studies on music teachers' preparation to teach students with disabilities. They have examined music teachers' perceptions of their preparation for teaching students with disabilities and have also assessed music education curricula in universities. Concerning the first 2 inclusion barriers, which were organizational and knowledge, researchers have discovered that music teachers in the United States are lacking music content-specific preparation to teach students with disabilities. In other words, some music teachers might be taking special education coursework or classes, but it is not specific to teaching music. Other researchers have examined music teachers' attitudes relating to attitude barrier when teaching students with disabilities. These scholars linked poor attitudes with disability labels and student appearances and music teachers' lack of preparation and support. This study had 5 research questions. The first wanted to know what type of training these graduate music education majors had for working with students with disabilities. The second question wanted to know their perceptions of their training for organizational strategies. The third wanted to know their perceptions of their training for inclusion knowledge. The fourth wanted to know their attitudes towards inclusion. And the fifth wanted to know what differences existed between their perceptions of training for organizational strategies, their perceptions of training for inclusion knowledge, and their attitudes towards teaching students with disabilities. Participants were 22 graduate music education majors, and they took a web-based survey. I created the survey with 1 demographic question and 4 survey sections. The demographic question asked participants the type of special education training they received, so to help answer that first research question on their training. The first sections, or the first 3 survey sections, aligned with the 3 inclusion barriers by Adamek and Darrow. Section 1 on organizational strategies sought to examine organizational barriers. Section 2 on inclusion knowledge sought to examine knowledge barriers. And Section 3 had attitude statements to examine attitude barriers. Section 4 had open-ended questions where participants could express their thoughts in their own words. For survey section 1 on organizational strategies, participants rated different organizational strategies on a scale of 0 to 10 using a slider. Every sentence started with, "To teach students with disabilities, my education and training prepared me to understand and implement," and then the organizational item would complete the sentence. Examples of organizational strategy items included a structured environment, color coding, and assistive technology. There were 28 organizational strategy items. For survey section 2 on inclusion knowledge, participants rated different knowledge items on a scale of 0 to 10 using a slider. Every sentence started with, "To teach students with disabilities, my education and training prepared me to," and then a knowledge item would complete the sentence. Examples of knowledge items included identify and understand symptoms of different disabilities, understand and implement an individualized education program, IEP, and work with a music therapist. There were 20 knowledge items. For survey section 3 on music teacher attitudes, participants rated different attitude statements on a scale of 0 to 10 using a slider. Every sentence started with, "I believe that students with disabilities." Examples of attitude statement endings included, "Are included equally in general music classrooms," "Are a joy to teach in a music setting," and "Are capable of contributing to a musical performance like other students in the class." There were 20 attitude statements. Survey section 4 had 3 open-ended questions for participants to share thoughts in their own words. These questions were, number 1, for which aspects of teaching students with disabilities do you wish you had been better prepared? Number 2, for which aspects of teaching students with disabilities do you think you were best prepared? And number 3, in what ways do you think your training, or lack thereof, has affected your attitude towards working with children with disabilities? Data were analyzed both quantitatively and qualitatively. Descriptive and nonparametric statistics were used for numerical data, and coding procedures were employed for open-ended comments. The first research question asked about graduate music education majors' types of special education training for teaching students with disabilities. Participants' responses to the demographic question on type of training helped to answer this question. Results aligned with prior literature that most music teachers were not prepared with music content-specific knowledge to teach learners with special needs. The highest percentage of participants, 23%, were prepared to teach disabled learners through an undergraduate course that is not specific to teaching students with a disability. General information was likely taught to them through single lessons or units in a methods course or something similar. The next highest percentage of participants, 21%, were taught outside of college through conference workshops, and this also aligns with literature findings. Only one person took an undergraduate college course specifically for teaching students with disabilities within a music department. In their open-ended comments, some participants chose to remark on their training. A few participants mentioned how their training at the graduate level, where they were at when they took the survey, was better than at the undergraduate level. Like participant 7, who said, "My graduate training has helped me to see all the options there are for students with disabilities. There were many holes in my undergraduate training." Then there were those who expressed how their best training came mostly or completely from their work experience. Like participant 9, who said, "I have solely relied on my experiences teaching various learning personalities to try to figure out what strategies would work best for my students with disabilities." And then you had those whose lack of training spurred them to learn independently, like participant 12. "It has incited a desire of knowing more about the subject matter as a way of better serving students who may need special attention." Research question 2 asked about music teachers' preparation for organizational strategies. This chart includes the 3 highest and 3 lowest means. Modeling, a structured environment, and step-by-step instruction received the highest mean scores. These 3 items are effective for teaching all students, not just those with disabilities. So this raises question if participants felt best prepared to implement these items because of their training for them in general, or if they were specifically taught the benefits of these approaches for teaching disabled students. Sensory integration, a strength-based approach, and assistive technology received the lowest mean scores. This is concerning, considering the empirically tested benefits of these strategies for all children, especially those with disabilities. A few participants specifically mentioned their preparation for organizational strategies in their open-ended comments, either a lack of preparation or positive mentions of preparation. As examples of lack of preparation for organizational strategies, we have participant 15, who said, "I wish I would have been better prepared for music-specific aspects of special ed. My training was very general." Similarly, we have participant 20, who said, "The education courses that were focused on special education only referred to general education classrooms, and I had a tough time taking what I learned and applying it to a music setting." These two comments alone show the need for music content-specific training. And then we have positive mentions of preparation. We have participant 1 who said, "I think I was best prepared to provide differentiated instruction." And participant 5 said, "I feel like I was well prepared to modify lessons for students with physical challenges." Research question 3 asked about music teachers' preparation for inclusion knowledge. This chart shows the 3 highest and 3 lowest means. Consult with a parent guardian, consult with a special educator, and individualized education program, IEP, received the highest mean scores. Understand other special education terminology, work with a music therapist, and create and implement modified musical instruments and tools received the lowest mean scores. This all may indicate that music teachers are being prepared, at least on a basic level, to implement IEPs, the associated contracts to help students with disabilities covered under the IDEA law here in the United States. But it may also indicate that music teachers are being pushed to seek basic special education knowledge from other kinds of teachers rather than being prepared for these things within their field and learning to work with other knowledgeable and effective professionals like music therapists. A few participants specifically mentioned their preparation for inclusion knowledge in their open-ended comments, either a lack of preparation or positive mentions of their preparation. For examples of lack of preparation for inclusion knowledge, we have participant 3 who said, "I wish I knew how to create IEPs, BIPs, and 504s. I wish I knew how to contribute to those. I also wish I knew more about the different disabilities." And participant 8, "I wish I knew how to communicate with the professionals in my building when they have no interest in helping the students with special needs, including the special education teachers. The school where I taught would not accommodate my desire to join meetings." And then we have positive mentions of preparation for inclusion knowledge, like participant 10. "I was prepared to read, interpret, and implement legally binding agreements like IEPs and 504s. And participant 20. "I think I was really prepared with the knowledge of terms such as ILPs, FERPA, IDEA. The education class I was in was very adamant on the understanding of these terms." Research question 4 was answered using the 20 attitude statements that participants were asked to rate. This chart includes the 3 highest and 3 lowest means. Should be treated with the same respect as other students in the class, should be given the same opportunities to succeed as other students in the class, and are a joy to watch succeed in a music setting, received the highest mean scores. This may indicate that these music teachers desired the best and most equitable music experiences for their students with disabilities. Are included equally in ensembles, are easy to handle in terms of behaviors, and are easy to teach in a music setting, received the lowest mean scores. The very lowest score, are included equally in ensembles, might indicate that, according to these music teachers' perceptions, and despite their desire for student equality, students with disabilities may not always achieve equality in ensembles. The other 2 low statements, are easy to handle in terms of behaviors, and are easy to teach in a music setting, confirm challenge areas like behavior management and specialized teaching approaches, both connected to teacher preparation. The third open-ended question asked participants the impact their training may have had on their attitudes towards teaching students with disabilities. Some participants stated directly that their attitudes were impacted negatively or positively. A couple of examples for negative attitudes resulting from lack of training is participant 2, who said, "I think my training has affected my opinion of working with children with disabilities greatly. I began teaching feeling like I didn't know what to do with children with disabilities, which made me fearful and frustrated." And participant 14, "I think my lack of training has kept me from pursuing teaching students with disabilities. I have in the past referred students to other teachers for private lessons who I felt were more prepared for their particular needs." And then we have positive attitudes resulting from training, like participant 3. "I think my training has made me a kind, welcoming, and understanding teacher." And participant 19, "My opinion before was that special needs children deserve the same access to a music education as the others. This opinion was only strengthened and supported throughout my training." Research question 5 asked about the differences between music teachers' perceptions of their training for organizational strategies, their perceptions of training for inclusion knowledge, and their attitudes towards inclusion. Friedman test results showed a significant difference between the 3 main survey sections: organizational strategies, inclusion knowledge, and teacher attitudes. A post hoc using a Wilcoxon-signed rank test indicated a statistically significant difference between sections 1 and 2 and sections 2 and 3. These findings revealed that participants' preparation for disability knowledge was significantly less than their preparation for organizational strategies and their attitudes towards teaching students with disabilities. Perhaps these participants needed preparation for inclusion knowledge over everything else. And it's this foundational knowledge that can be used towards the implementation of organizational strategies, and it might also impact their personal attitudes. Limitations include the sampling method, a convenience sample that was not representative of all music teachers, and the very small sample size. Future research can examine university coursework, perhaps looking at differences between undergraduate and graduate programs. Other investigations can look at lessons, particular lessons within university coursework in preparation for specific strategies and inclusion knowledge. And other studies might be able to look at attitude formation of music teachers towards teaching students with disabilities. Thank you for your time.